very interesting. This gentleman on the screen is called Paul Piff. He is a social psychologist. There's some studies that were done over 7 years by numerous psychologists who happen to be from the University of California in Berkeley. And they said that one of the things so what they were studying was, what impact does wealth have on the lives of human beings? You know, wealth and inequality, does it have an impact? When you have very rich people and very poor people, or people who just suddenly get rich, what happens to them? And so they carried out numerous studies, and it was so interesting to see what happened in those studies. And they found that, you know, money can actually very powerfully influence the way that we think, the way we treat one another, the way that we view life, without even realizing it. And that's what's scary. Like, you don't realize what it's doing to you, but it's important for us to be aware. So it affects our actions, and it is regardless of your circumstances. Because when you look at wealth, it could be your status in your job, it could be the salary that you earn, you know, it could be you've inherited wealth. It's not necessarily who created it, but it affects it. So there are several things that came out of this research that I want us to share. And the first thing is that they found that as wealth increases, there's feelings of narcissism, entitlement, and self-interest as wealth grows. So you'd think, how? You know, you'd think about it that, you know, I need this money so that I can impact my generation, I can impact my society, my community, this country, this continent. But the opposite actually happens. You start making decisions based on self-interest. Secondly, when you create wealth, wealthy individuals tend to actually attribute their success to their own efforts. And yet there's something we call grace. There's something called favor. Somebody gives you an upper hand, whether it's a boss that gives you favor or something that happens. It's not all you're doing. Yes, you work hard, but there's elements that works this is life. Elements work in your favor. And so when you become wealthy, it's important to continue to remember where you came from and how that has happened. But they found that wealthy individuals tend to attribute their success to their efforts. And then lastly, that wealthy individuals are less empathetic and less sensitive to the poor. I remember once, I don't know what I was doing there, but I was waiting in town, and I remember watching, there was a beggar on the street, and I just was staring and watched what was going on. And people would just pass this guy. But the people who would actually stop and drop a coin, physically, the way they were dressed looked poorer than those who were crossing, who looked like they actually had more money. It's a very interesting thing that the rich generally kind of become less sensitive to the poor.